Happy Homecoming Week, everyone, and welcome on behalf of the College of Food, Agricultural, and Environmental Sciences to the CFAES Time and Change Alumni Webinar Series. I first want to just welcome back those of you who have joined previous webinars in this series and welcome those joining for the first time. I'm Amy Jo Bachman, and I serve as the Director of Alumni Engagement and Annual Giving for CFAES. Before we officially kick off this webinar, I'd like to share just a few housekeeping items with all of you. First of all, for all of our participants, your microphones have been muted and your videos are turned off. This session is being recorded and will be shared after today's webinar with all of our participants. Please, throughout the webinar, feel free to submit questions through the Q&A feature to both our moderator and our panelists. CFAES is a cornerstone college of The Ohio State University, and we continue to make our land grant mission our priority as we look ahead to the future. At our very core, human potential is the most valuable resource that we have. And CFAES is proud of our alumni, students, faculty, and staff, and the great work that they do to lead the food, agricultural, and environmental industries. And now I am thrilled to introduce the moderator of our panel today and leader of our college. Dr. Kathann Kress serves as Vice President for Agricultural Administration and Dean of the College of Food, Agricultural, and Environmental Sciences here at Ohio State since May of 2017. Dean Kress has responsibility for leadership of the college, which also comprises OSU Extension, the statewide Agricultural Experiment Station, and the Agricultural Technical Institute in Worcester. She is also a full professor within the Department of Agricultural Communication, Education, and Leadership. Dean Kress previously served as Vice President for Extension and Outreach at Iowa State University, and prior to her tenure with Iowa State, she was Senior Policy Analyst for Military, Community, and Family Policy in the Department of Defense, and before that, she served as Director of Youth Development at the United States Department of Agriculture, which included serving as the director at National 4-H headquarters. She was also Assistant Director of Cornell Cooperative Extension at Cornell University. Dean Kress has served as Assistant Professor in the Department of Educational Leadership at Miami University and previously served as an academic counselor within the Women's Athletic Department at the University of Iowa. Dean Kress graduated with distinction from Iowa State University, where she received her bachelor's degree, and she received her master's and doctorate from University of Iowa. We have a great leader leading our college. Thanks for moderating our panel today, Dean Kress, and I will turn it over to you.
Thank you, Amy Jo, and let me also express my welcome on behalf of the college to everyone joining today. We're excited that it's homecoming week and the opportunity that we have this week to connect with so many of our alums, and there's some awards celebrations going on later in the week, and of course culminating with the Fall Fest and the football game on Saturday, and we're so looking forward to that as well. So welcome everybody today to this opportunity to come together, and I'm really excited to get to share with you all today some of the terrific leaders who are part of our community, because when you have a big, complex and comprehensive community like we do in CFAES, you really need a whole team of really talented, strong, and dedicated leaders. And I couldn't be prouder of the fact that in the college we have that. And so today I get to be joined by a panel that represents a number of our terrific leaders. And so I'm going to go ahead and introduce today's panelists who represent our CFAES alumni, our students, our faculty, and our staff. And so first up, we have Yolanda Owens, who graduated in 2007 and is the CFAES Alumni Society President. Yolanda is a food systems consultant and a homegrown Buckeye. Welcome, Yolanda. She's a product of Columbus City Schools. She developed a connection to food at a young age and believes all students should have access to agricultural education in their STEM classrooms, and I agree. She delivered a TEDx at the King Lincoln Bronzeville cohort in fall of 2020, discussing this very topic. She and her husband Cedric try to model this to their two boss daughters through his landscaping work and her work in community gardens across Central Ohio. We are thrilled to have Yolanda leading and serving as the president of the CFAES Alumni Society Board. Thank you for taking the time and joining us today, Yolanda.
Thank you so much for having me, Dean Chris.
Next up then on our panel is our student council president, Joe Grabowski. He's currently an animal sciences student, and he serves as president, as I said, for the CFAES Undergraduate Student Council, which has changed slightly since maybe some of you were part of student council, and now is a fully representational student council and is part of the shared governance within the college. And Joe then in that role represents our students on the Council of Councils. Joe is a third year and he's a nutrition major from Floyd Knobs, Indiana. He also serves as a manager for the Ohio State University women's basketball program. He's a resident advisor for the CFAES Learning Community in Nosker House. As you can hear, he's very busy, and it always seems to be that the busy ones are the ones who get a lot of things done, and Joe certainly gets a lot done in his role with Student Council. Joe, thanks for being with us today.
Thanks for having me, Dean Chris.
We also have today Eric Barrett, who's an alum as well as CFAES Faculty Advisory Council Chair. And Eric is an associate professor and extension educator and area lead for Stark, Mahoning, Portage, and Columbiana. He specializes in marketing and local foods. He's been teaching and leading OSU extension programs since 1996, working with many aspects of agriculture, including urban farming, agritourism, and farm direct marketing throughout the United States. His passions are teaching and helping farmers improve marketing practices, and Eric does a terrific job of representing the faculty also in our shared governance within the college. And so Eric, welcome and thank you for being with us today.
Glad to be here today with such a great group.
Wonderful. And then last but certainly not least, as they say, I'm thrilled to welcome Misty Harmon also to our panel. Misty is this year's CFAES Staff Advisory Council Chair. And Misty Harmon is a family and consumer sciences extension educator in Perry County. And she attended Ohio University, where she received both her Bachelor of Science in Biological Science and a Master of Science in Physical Education. Misty is part of our statewide Live Healthy, Live Well team, our Healthy Relationships team, Healthy Finances team. She teaches a number of successful parenting programs, as well as classes related to finances and health and wellness, really taking advantage of her expertise. Misty is also a Buckeye Wellness Innovator for the university, and she's a member of our college's Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Action Council and the Extension LifeWorks Task Force, along with many other organizations. Misty has spent over 22 years working in healthcare as an exercise physiologist before she joined Extension, and she's passionate about helping others to lead a healthy and well-balanced life. Misty is also an incredible amount of enthusiasm within the college, and we are so value her as a leader in our college as well. So thanks for being with us today too, Misty, and welcome again to all of our panelists. We really appreciate the time and dedication and leadership that you give within the college. It's so important for us to be successful, particularly given the challenges of the last year. So thank you. To start things off today, I'd like to start with a question for all of you. And I'd appreciate if maybe all of you would share with our participants today, how did you decide to become a part of the College of Food, Agricultural, and Environmental Sciences? And what brought you here, essentially? And so the order I think we'll go in is I'm going to go ahead and ask Misty to kick us off, and Joe, then we're going to come to you, then Yolanda and Eric, you'll round us up. So how did you decide to become a Buckeye within CFAES?
Thanks, Dean Kress. Well, as you already know, I am not an alum, but OSU was my other choice. But like all great opportunities, I really wasn't looking for this opportunity. I kind of stumbled upon it. And after reading the position description for the extension educator position in Perry County, I decided that I had to apply for this because many of the things aligned with my educational as well as my professional background. And what better opportunity than to help serve the people of the county I had lived in my entire life than in the county. I had always worked outside of the county, so the opportunity to get to help serve and work with the folks in the county that I've lived in and loved my entire life, I couldn't pass that up. And I couldn't be happier to be a Buckeye. So thank you.
Great, Misty. Joe.
So as Dean Kress mentioned, I'm from Indiana. And so I was looking to go to college out of Indiana, try to get out and explore a little bit. And one of my sister's friends was an animal science student here in the college, and she gave me a tour. She connected me with Mariette, who's the program coordinator for student success in animal sciences. We got to talking, and I kind of fell in love with the college. And 3 short years later, I'm still here. So I just kind of fell in love with it, and I'm going to be a Buckeye for life. So.
Well, Joe, I'm delighted to hear that. And I'm not at all surprised that once you met the force that we all know as Mariette, that you were convinced to come. She's just a terrific asset in animal sciences and such a strong proponent for student success. So I'm glad you had that experience with her. So Yolanda?
For me, one of my mentors was really good friends with Pamela Thomas, who at the time, she's now retired, but was the advisor for Manners, Minorities in Agriculture, Natural Resources, and Related Sciences. And she connected me with her and told me, well, you already have this passion and have been doing some really good work traveling abroad, and connected me with Pamela Thomas, who was always relentless in trying to connect minority students into the space of CFAES. And so she would hound me with emails all the time, honestly. And I felt like I had no choice. But when I came to CFAES, the feeling of family and the space that CFAES creates amongst this huge university setting kept me there and made sure that I was always engaged. And here I am still some years later. We won't talk about how many years later, but still engaged with the college.
Well, Yolanda, I'm so happy to hear that. Both you and Joe have referenced some individuals who really made a big difference. And we believe that in the college, that it's our individuals and the relationships that we build. We're really proud at the university to have the best student success rates, no matter what metrics you look at. And we believe that's because of our student first philosophy, which I think is so epitomized by people like Pamela, like Mariette. It all comes down to those relationships. So it's really good to hear them reflected through you. So that brings us to Eric.
I grew up in 4-H, and my dad became an educator when I was in high school. I had no idea what he did as an ag educator. Went to college because his whole family went to Ohio State, so it was my only option, which was actually a great option. And I agree with Yolanda that sense of community when you came in as a student was amazing. I had no idea what I really wanted to do. And Bernie Irvin in Ag Econ at the time grabbed me my senior year and said, "You would make an awesome educator." And I was like, "Well, I'm not sure about this." He said, "Here's the stuff for grad school. Here's the application." Put me through that. Went through that in 2 years in Ag Econ after animal science undergrad and never left. It's that engagement and feeling of you can actually connect people to the university and to the college that has kept me here for many years. Yolanda, we won't go through those details as you said, but
Exactly.
my whole entire career.
Wonderful, Eric. And we certainly benefit now from having you as engaged as you are. So with that, I'm going to move along. Joe, I have a question for you. Earlier this year, our new president, Christina Johnson, announced a very broad student debt-free initiative that we're all going to be working for across the university. Of course, we feel like we have a little bit of a head start, being that we're the college that awards the most scholarships at the university, in large part because of our terrific alums and donors who pay it forward for our students. But I'm wondering, Joe, if you might talk a little bit about how you think this could impact CFAES students in the future.
Of course. I remember reading this article, came out in the Lantern, about this huge initiative, and I was super excited to learn more about it. I think it's incredible. I think that this opportunity will present students the ability to go into fields and go into their interests without having that underlying concern that many undergrad students have of how am I going to end up paying for this in the future or now, or what my college experience is going to look like based on how much I have to pay for it. I think it's very important that students don't have to worry about those things. It allows them to not have to get a job on campus. They can be more involved in their college or get involved in a club or manage a sport on campus. But as you mentioned, CFAS gives out the most scholarships of any college, and I find that to be very true. I'm very grateful for all the generosity and support. It allows me to continue my time here. But I think in the next, 3 or 4 years, when that initiative gets put into place, I think students will be better off for it. And I think this entire university will be better off for it.
Yeah, and Joe, you know, one of the things we're excited about is in the college, we're thinking about it, not just in terms of scholarships, but we're thinking about what we consider like premier student experiences. So how can we also, you know, provide support so students can continue these premier experiences we know are so important, like being able to pursue internships while they're here, or hopefully at some point, also the study abroad experiences that we know so enrich education, that the more we can keep the cost of those down for students, the more students we hope will fully engage in those premier student experiences. And I just wonder what you think about having, you know, this broad set of experiences for our students also be part of our debt-free initiative.
I think it's incredible that a university as big as this is focusing on things like that, because some of the other schools I applied to before I met with Mariette and she convinced me to come, they didn't have such a vast option for study abroad or a vast requirement for an internship. That was something I was shocked about. I'm very happy about it because I'm excited to begin mine hopefully next year. But it's something that I think, as you said, it just heightens your student experience. And something I'll also touch on is the research that we're doing and that is promoted to students in an undergrad situation. I think all three of those things and all the other things that the college is doing is just incredible that we get all these opportunities. Hopefully I'll be flying to South Africa with the college this upcoming summer for the research and the study abroad opportunity there. But I would not have even thought of these opportunities without Ohio State. It truly is amazing.
Well, Joe, I'm delighted to hear that. And so going from what you're anticipating, I'm going to switch over to Yolanda and ask Yolanda if she might reflect for us a little bit about how your time as an agricultural communication student was impactful to your career. If you'd reflect on that for a little bit.
Well, very similar to what Joe talked about. For me, there were so many transferable skills, first of all, that I learned during my time and in the program. But there were two most notable things I think that were super impactful to me right now. And one was definitely the mandatory internship through the program. It actually helped me and showed me what I didn't want to do. So it was super helpful in that way, where I didn't feel as connected or as tied to it, where it was my source of income and like this in this huge way. Because it was an internship, I was able to try it out and say, no, this is not necessarily what I want to do. And then I went back to my advisor, Dr. Agunga, and was like, hey, we got to, let's see, what can we do to switch this around? And then secondly, the other thing that was super impactful was my public speaking class with Tom Stewart. right? And I don't want to date myself, but I recall that the year that I had Tom Stewart was actually his first year out of retirement from WBNS and coming over to CFAES as a professor and doing the public speaking. And it was hugely impactful, especially even to last fall when I was able to deliver my TED Talk, to have the confidence and the comfortability to be able to have those skills and have utilized them for so many years. That gave me the foundation to be able to do that. Because let me tell you, doing a TED Talk and speaking, it looks like it's extemporaneously, but you're memorizing a script, right? And so being able to have learned those skills during that time was hugely impactful and super helpful.
Well, Yolanda, I'm really glad to see that. And having seen your TED Talk, you were incredibly effective and proficient with it. But I admire you for doing it, because I thought to myself at the time that I saw it, that must take just incredible preparation. The things that always look so easy like that, I know a lot went into it to get it to that point, and that was clear, but we were really proud of you. So Misty and Eric, I'm going to come to both of you next. As both of you well know, CFAES is one college with 3 campuses. We've got our Columbus campus, we have our CFAES Worcester campus, and of course we have our statewide campus. And what a lot of people don't know is our faculty and staff are actually divided a third, evenly across those 3 campuses. And so in our college, we don't talk about main campus, we talk about the Columbus campus, we talk about the Worcester campus, and we talk about our statewide campus. And we recognize that we reach our learners all throughout the state. And in fact, a very significant number, over 1.5 million, are reached through extension. And many of those, whether they're in 4-H or Master Gardeners or getting the access to our field days, are people who stick with us for more than 10 years with the program. So incredibly impactful, very much a part of people's lives. I'm just wondering, as extension educators and chairs of both our Staff Advisory Council and our Faculty Advisory Council, if you could speak about the importance of extension to our college and to our state.
I'll start. Misty and I talked a little yesterday. How do we really address this, and explain all the many things that Dean Kress kind of started there that we do as extension educators and what that importance is. I think it's more important than ever to have these connections to our counties, to our neighborhoods across the entire state. One of the calls I was on yesterday, they're like, how could we do this? I'm like, well, we can make a connection right here. One example is the Be Kind Food Drive Initiative. We're giving away 170,000 meals next week in cooperation with athletics and student life. And Tracy Stuck from Student Affairs called and said, do you think you can do this? Julie Fox is part of that project. And our nutrition staff instantly were like, yep, we'll call these agencies. And we've actually got more need for this than the food we're going to have. So that's one example, but we're connected and we can make that science part of everyday life in our communities and encourage people to engage with that science and have discussions, especially now when a lot of people are like, well, I'm not sure what that's about. One way I've been doing that for a long time in my own job is I do a gardening myths and legends program, because there's so many things out there about mixing Dawn dishwashing liquid and other stuff to kill things, weeds and things. It's trying to help people understand there's a science behind that. No, you don't need to put those different things on your garden. It's being agile in our communities to take the university's knowledge and make things happen. Last year during the pandemic, we were able to work with our county commissioners, and we did a huge push 3 months into the pandemic on direct marketers. How can we get people to shop at our local farmers and with our local farms and make sure that they're spending money locally and helping those farms get through the pandemic? So it's all those things about how we're able to meet the needs of the community and be engaged and be agile to bring the college to the people.
Yeah, and I'll just go back to what many of you have already talked about, our relationships. Many of you, Yolanda and Joe both talked about the relationships and how that drew them to Ohio State. And so, for Eric and I, we have relationships at that local level. We know, who the folks are in the areas, around the state, as I have the map up here, right? So in every county, those extension educators are boots on the ground. They know what, who it is that we need to talk to get these projects going. So from the university standpoint, if there's a project that a researcher wants to implement, extension has that firsthand knowledge of where would this be a good fit. Like, I have a farmer who's really interested and kind of progressive, and Eric would know this project is a good fit for this farm, or this project is a good fit for one of my schools because, this is an area that they've been working on and they want more of this. And so we can bring that knowledge and research from the university and deliver it, because we have those relationships with those folks right there in the counties and our communities. And so again, just like the relationships that you alum, had when you visited campus, we have these relationships every single day in every county in Ohio, extension reaches. And so it's a wonderful opportunity for us to take that knowledge and research from the university and give it to the folks. And then also the concerns of the folks, funnel that back up to the university. These are the things we're hearing at the local level that people are concerned about. These are the things we need to address as a university, as a college, as a nation. And so it's a fantastic opportunity, and I couldn't be more proud to be an OSU Extension educator.
Thanks, Misty, and it shows. And you both alluded to the fact that OSU Extension is actually one of the hallmarks of our land-grant college. And we're really proud of the fact that we're able to deliver it as part of a cooperative structure. There was a time earlier in our history when I think more people referred to it as cooperative extension, and we all kind of had a better understanding of that. But it still is a cooperative structure that's really kind of amazing, because it's a cooperative relationship between the federal government, the state government, and then county government, along with our university and our college. And it's just amazing to me that you can get all of those entities together and working on the things that need to be worked on. I think that actually we've had a question come in to the question and answer section here that's specific to all of this, and that is asking, how can alumni, students, and community members in our local communities interact with their county extension offices? Would one of you like to take that one?
So I can start. Sure, Misty can add as well. We have a lot of after school programs. We call them spin clubs. So any alumni, if food science is your thing, we can get you involved. If biking is your thing, spin clubs, it's not as much of a commitment as a club leader, but it's helping youth get engaged. And we have a ton of those, especially in the urban areas, that we would like to expand on, and volunteers that direction would be great. The other two I work with is Master Gardener Volunteers, which is an amazing course. And not a lot of folks know we have a certified volunteer naturalist program. And we started that here in Mahoning County about 20 years ago. And we train folks, and then they're not really our volunteers. We send them out to help the metro parks and in the education centers, naturalist kind of organizations across the state to be volunteers and make sure that they're trained to not only give tours, but they understand all the basics of nature. Misty?
Yeah, and I would agree with Eric on those. And it depends on the level of involvement you want to be. You can be very involved, or you can be here and there. You can help promote our programs. If you don't have the time or don't necessarily want to volunteer, you can certainly be an advocate and say, did you know Extension provides this? So if you Google yourcounty.osu.edu, so for me, that would be perry.osu.edu, that will take you to the Extension office for that particular county. So regardless of what county you live in Ohio, you can find the Extension office and contact them and ask them and let them know what areas you're interested in and what things you would like to provide, because we are always looking for partnerships. That's what drives Extension and, those relationships. So, again, depending on how much involvement you want, we will take you in some form or fashion.
Great, thanks, Ms.
Word. Yeah.
Yes, I was going to say, we also have a number of advisory boards at the local level, as well as a number that run regionally or statewide. And so we're always looking to engage people. This is big work we do in the college, and we need kind of all hands on deck. So we're very appreciative for that. Yolanda, there's been another question that has come in And that is, it relates to what we were just talking about. But how is our CFAES Alumni Society Board working to find ways to keep our alumni engaged with our college and with OSU?
Well, one of the big things that we were really excited to kind of pilot this year and start is our Alumni Ambassador Program. We have a number of activities and events that often happen that people usually come and engage with, and we try to make sure ourselves that we're present, things like Farm Science Review or Fall Fest this weekend, things like that that regularly happen. But what we're trying to do is find ways to be able to expand even larger, because we understand that we have a bulk of our alumni here within the state, but we also have a ton of alumni that are outside of the state of Ohio, and what are ways that we can do to try to reach and engage them. And so through this ambassador program, and especially like following us on social media, unfortunately, even though it was down yesterday, but being able to connect with us through social media, you can find a lot of the events and activities that are happening in different geographic areas where folks are trying to connect and engage locally. And so we're trying to continue to build more on that and offering more opportunities and engagements outside of some of the bigger events that we typically host regularly. So I would say to someone who is looking to get involved, to find us via social media, to keep your eyes peeled, because you'll start seeing more activities and engagements to be able to do that specifically through Alumni Society Board.
Wonderful. Thank you, Yolanda, and thanks to all of you on the Society Board. We appreciate all the work that you're doing to keep people engaged with the college. So I have another question for all of you. And Joe, I'm going to be pitching it to you first, and then to Yolanda, and then to Eric and Misty. But diversity, equity, and inclusion is a priority of our university, and it's also part of the priorities of our college, and a commitment. We all reaffirmed our principles of community a little over a year ago. And so I'm wondering if you might all address how our different leadership councils are approaching and prioritizing this work. And then Misty, I know you also serve on our Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Action Council for the college. Maybe you can also reference some of the work of that group as well. So Joe, we're going to kick it to you first.
Of course, as you said, diversity, equity, inclusion is a huge topic right now. It's something that Student Council is focused very heavily on this year, along with some other things that we'll talk about later. But we actually just recently had a meeting with Dr. Kathy Leichman, the Assistant Dean and Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion here in the college, to kind of go over some ways that we can restructure our organization to allow and include more inclusive language in our constitution and in our activities and in our programming and how we govern our students. And so we had a very productive meeting with her. We will be actively reworking our DEI subcommittee that's constitutionally a part of Student Council, into advocating for students, creating trainings for us, creating trainings for students, other members of the Student Council, so that all of us are in our roles able to speak more that is encompassing of all of our students here in the college, not just those that are sitting on the council or the ones that look like those that are sitting on the council. And so we are, as I said, reworking the language of our Constitution so that at our core, we are engaged with diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives here in the college.
Great, thanks, Joe. And I know that that's a continuing evolution of the work you all have been doing to be fully representational and to encompass the entire breadth of our student body, including our students who are up on CFAES Worcester as well. And I'm appreciative of your willingness to consider all of our students and their engagement. So thank you. And Yolanda?
Very, very similar to what Joe is saying about the Student Council. We also have been working to both hold ourselves accountable with hosting workshops and trainings around implicit bias, and as well as doing more to be able to engage underrepresented minorities by connecting with organizations like Manners, minority students in agriculture, natural resource and related sciences, as well as Shades of Animal Sciences, and collaborating in that way, as well as making sure that we are also including very inclusive language around the way that we speak around our our society and the board as well. And so changing some of the language within our constitution as well is one of the really big things that we're trying to do. And I think that it's been really pivotal in this space because it's been something that we've been working toward prior to the big shift nationwide that we saw as of last summer. It's been something that we've been working around, especially in me coming into this role as the first woman of color as the president of the Alumni Society Board, and then recognizing why has this only happened in 2020, right? And so looking at both making sure that we are inclusive in creating spaces that make our female alumni feel comfortable, making our minority alumni feel comfortable, making our LGBTQIA alumni feel comfortable, and making sure that we're engaging with those student groups and making sure that they are pulled and feel represented with the Alumni Society Board when we connect with these student organizations with changes, as another student organization as well. So.
Great. Thank you, Yolanda.
Mhm.
And then I'm going to kick it to Eric and Misty.
So Faculty Council, we've been focused on this for at least 18 months, trying to really move it ahead as quickly as we can. Let's get change, make change happen across the college. One of the biggest things most recently is working through all the Action Council recommendations and trying to see which ones can we do now, which ones can we make happen, how can we integrate as much as possible this into everyday life of all faculty members and everyone else in the college. So one thing is the promotion and tenure documents. Those are really important within the college. We're working to say, how can we integrate this into, this is something that has to happen. You get rewarded for this. DEI is integral to everything you do in your role. Changing things like job descriptions to say, you don't have to necessarily have a background in extension to work for extension. That sometimes makes it easier for us to say, somebody else is like, okay, that sounds like a community connector. I can do that. That's the kind of job I want. Broader recruitment for interns and things like that. I think that's our starting point is getting not only students and others engaged in the college and know what we do. We hired 7 interns in my area this past summer, and we put it out there and did kind of a trial run based on what we've talked about within the college and DEI. And we had 7 interns, 4 of which had never heard of extension or the college before. So we felt really good about, okay, if we just do these baby steps and do some simple changes, we can make this a priority within the college. So really training, things like Yolanda talked about to make sure that we have dialogue across the university and across other colleges and universities and get their examples of what they've done to make sure DEI is a strategically important event for the future.
Thanks, Eric. And Staff Advisory Council, many of our members actually sit on DEI councils within their own departments. So they represent certain departments, like Extension has their own DEI, kind of task force that works on these issues, as well as some of the other departments do. So some of our staff also sit on those committees as well. And there are also some of them that also serve on the CFAS DEI Action Council, along with myself. And there are 6 different work groups on the Action Council, and Eric alluded to a couple of those. One of those is faculty and staff retention, as well as student retention. So how do we recruit, not only recruit, but then how do we keep folks here? How do we keep folks engaged in our college? How do we promote them throughout the ranks? So that we keep that diverse pool of instructors and students and help, it just furthers help the work of our college overall when we can do that. One of the work groups is a climate survey work group, and that's getting ready to launch. If I'm correct, it'll launch later this month to kind of get a survey of how do staff and faculty feel? What are their thoughts, about the work that we're doing in the college, and how safe do they feel, and some of those other things, and that's eventually going to launch to the students as well. So again, we're kind of trying to move this along, much like the other action councils, because we realize the importance of having that diversity and inclusion be part of our mission, part of every council, every committee, every work group needs to recognize and realize the importance, because it helps us all. It helps move the college forward. It helps move our state forward and our nation forward when we work on that.
Thank you. I appreciate you all speaking to that. And there are many great suggestions that came in from the DEI Action Council. Many have already been implemented that have to do with our hiring practices and processes. And others will continue to focus on, as you said, with the climate survey. I think it's a great way to get a baseline so we have a greater understanding of where we think we could have the most impact as we think to the future. So appreciate the commitment. One of the things we were all clear on in the college is this isn't something where you hire one person to be your DEI director and all the rest of us then just get to keep on doing what we did before, that it was really going to need to be a commitment across the entire college. And I've really been impressed by how willing everyone has been to reconsider how we do things and what we do so we can make sure our community is an inclusive and welcoming community. A question has come in for Misty and Eric. Are extension professionals aware of CFAES scholarships? And are you sharing those with students in your counties? And if so, how do you help students learn about scholarship opportunities?
I guess I can start, Misty. We, in our county here, we do, I know when I was in Washington County down in Marietta area, we always made sure students were aware of those. It's connecting usually our 4-H youth that are going to the university, making those connections that direction. Also, we have scholarships in certain counties that are endowed that help directly. They're like a local 4-H board has control of and does the interviewing for. So we get some things started that direction, but that awareness needs to go beyond 4-H is our biggest concern, to make sure that, hey, you didn't have to be in 4-H, you could have been just an FFA, or you could have just a food interest and be like, wow, food science sounds amazing. Or just a kid that loves insects that didn't know about 4-H to be like, I'm going to be an entomologist someday. Well, hey, we have scholarships that are directly from our county. So there are some improvements we could make that direction. And I think we've had some basic conversations, but the more we can do to, again, get more diversity in that beyond 4-H to get more students in the college would be amazing.
Yeah, and I'll echo Eric, I think we do a really good job with our 4-H students, with the youth involved in 4-H. I think we can definitely do a better job with outreach. And I certainly try to promote that, not coming from a 4-H background myself, or even realizing all that extension does and can do prior to taking my position. I'm speaking from that perspective. So how can we make it more, knowledgeable to everybody so that everybody realizes you don't have to be 4-H to attend OSU and the College of Food and Ag. There are lots of other opportunities. And so, yeah, I think certainly, some more conversations around that and making sure that we are promoting the work of the entire college to all of our audiences. So again, I work with a lot of schools, do a lot of education in the schools. And so I have the opportunity to see all of them, not just our 4-H youth. And so I do, and I will certainly make this a priority in my mind now to promote it even more than what I have.
Thanks, Misty. So the final question I have today goes to Joe. And Joe, you talked a little bit about some of the work that Student Council's been engaged in, but I wondered if you might like to share a little bit more about some of the other priorities Student Council hopes to work on during this coming academic year, or just some of the events you hope to be able to have.
Absolutely. Honestly, I could talk about this for about an hour. We were working on doing so much this year. It's really exciting. As you mentioned at the beginning of our meeting, Student Council is going through a restructuring phase. It used to be a social club when many of the alumni who are here attended OSU. It's shifting more to be a governing ordinance. And so one of the main focuses of this year is to include getting representation for every club and organization within CFAES on Student Council, but also to have every major in every department of our college represented, including ATI. We actually just reached out to them. We're going to work on getting a representative to join via Zoom in the coming general body meetings. But representation is one of our biggest priorities this year. And with that representation, it will allow us to hear from all of our students what they would like advocated for, what needs to be changed in the college, how we can better provide the student experience for the members of our college. It's a huge focus this year is representation. And something that I can share now, one of our events this year is getting our students more connected to Waterman. We're going to have a fall festival out there, hay rides and pumpkin carving and things like that, just to get some of our students who maybe didn't have an agricultural background growing up, or have those experiences, and showcase some of the awesome things that CFAS is doing that aren't located over on West Campus. They're located a little further out down the road. We're working, like I said, with Worcester on getting our students involved out there and them involved back here on Columbus campus, and hopefully keeping that connection strong moving into next year. But I know that a lot of questions have been asked about how alumni can get involved with student council. We're actually, I have a meeting with the alumni board this week to brainstorm those ideas. So more information will be coming, I promise.
More soon. Huh?
Exactly, yeah. But one of the biggest things, we are having a t-shirt sale this year. It's open to the entire college, alumni included. And any support you guys would show. As the final design, I can't share yet because it's being approved by some of our licensing people. But well, once that's shared, it'll be out on our social medias. Please follow the college. And you guys are more than welcome to be included on that as well. So a lot of stuff going on with student council this year.
Great, Joe, and thanks so much for your leadership. And thank you all again for sharing a little bit today. I've got a few additional updates to share with our alumni that several of our panelists already kind of hinted at some of them. And so I'll add a little more color to them here too. The first, I think several of you have probably had the chance to meet him already, but if you haven't, we've been delighted to welcome Dr. Doug Karcher as the chair of our Horton Crop Sciences Department. He joined us in August. He is an alum of CFAS, and he came to us most recently from the University of Arkansas, where he was the interim assistant director of the Arkansas Ag Experiment Station down there. And Doug's just bringing a lot of energy. He's already hit the ground running, and we're just delighted to welcome him. We also have had a transition in animal sciences with Dr. John Foltz stepping down as chair and moving over to a different leadership role, which I'll talk about in just a second. And so we've been delighted that the faculty have selected as their interim Dr. Pasha Livers Peffer. Pasha, I think, will do a terrific job of really helping to identify priorities and help us be able to move animal sciences forward. She's already, much like Doug, brought a lot of energy to the role, and we're deeply appreciative of her leadership. We have a position search going on right now for the Director of Strategic Partnerships. This is a leader who will work extensively with researchers and our external partners, facilitating our relationships and our scholarship with NGOs, with corporations and others. We think this is a great area for us to continue to grow in. I mentioned John Foltz is going to have a new leadership role. It's in statute for us to have an institute focused on farm finances. So we are launching a Farm Financial Management and Policy Institute. It's a partnership between Extension and our Economics Department, AEDE. John Foltz is going to provide some interim leadership as we get going with that, but we do have a search going on right now for the director. This institute will focus on agricultural finance and farm income, farm business analysis and financial management, ag production and risk management, as well as human resources. We know that's been a very big one, as well as ag policy, including Farm Bill and environmental and resource policy. So that is already open. As I mentioned, John Foltz will provide some interim leadership, and in AEDE, they have already hired Singi Lee as an assistant professor who will be providing support to FFMPI as well. I'm also really excited to announce we're launching a new partnership between our college and the University of Rio Grande. We think this is a great way to create some pathways for students in the southern part of the state. Our focus is going to be on workforce development and primarily in ruminant science, meat science, and animal welfare. We're tying those pilot courses, of course, to our Jackson station that's also down there, and we have a range of faculty involved. It's also connected to ATI through some distance courses options, and we have 4-H educators down there also working to connect students to that program. It's likely we'll have a number of 2x2 programs where students will start at the University of Rio Grande and then will transfer to OSU. And we couldn't be prouder of creating those opportunities for the young people who are down in the southern part of the state. We're also really pleased to keep seeing our Kubota partnership grow. This partnership has just been a really creative endeavor up at Worcester at ATI, where when students graduate with their associate's degree, they also graduate as certified Kubota technicians. And so pretty much have a job the day they graduate. We're really pleased to see that program thriving, and other companies then getting interested in having some dual programs like that with us. And so I'm sure you'll be hearing in the future about additional ones like that. Joe mentioned Waterman, and Waterman is just going like gangbusters right now. I'm so pleased to see the progress we're making out at the Waterman facility. Our Executive Vice President for Research, Innovation, and who oversees the West Campus Innovation District, Dr. Grace Wong, now sees the Waterman facility as part of the West Campus Innovation District, which I couldn't be happier about, because we've always kind of seen it as our innovation district. So that's great news. If you drive by at any point, you look out there, you can see the Controlled Environment Food Production Research Complex is well underway, or you can go to our website and see in real time it going up. It's actually, you can see the head house now and the facility. I don't want to jinx us, but we're actually ahead of schedule and under budget. I'm going to knock on wood because that never happens in academia, but we're pretty excited about that. And we are looking forward to being able to open that facility and get our research going and some of our teaching happening there as well. We have another facility also planned for Waterman, and that's our Multi-Species Animal Learning Center. That's already through the design phase and moving along. We're currently paused while Advancement and I get out and raise more money so we can build that building, but we're very excited about it. It's going to be a world-class space that's going to bring people and animals together, supporting education. It's going to be a great place for students to come, K-12, 4-H, and others to come and learn more about human-animal interaction. It'll have everything from some of the concepts of technology and precision agriculture through animal production, through animal welfare, whether it's companion animals, zoo animals, production animals, pet care. It really is going to be a real array of ways that humans and animals all interact. That facility is really going to be a critical part of our goal to bring as many people onto Waterman to learn about the research and the work we do. We have this big goal of eventually that every OSU undergraduate will have some experience out on Waterman to understand more about agriculture, the environment, and food, so that as they graduate, they have a good understanding of how important all of these are to them. I'd also just mention that right across Lane Avenue in the West Campus Innovation District, it's going up, and it's already reached its full height, and that's the Interdisciplinary Research Facility. That is part of the West Campus Innovation District. It's going to be anchored by 3 colleges, the College of Medicine, the College of Engineering, and our college, and the entire facility focuses on health. I was just so pleased that the recognition of the university of the importance of our disciplines in understanding health. And so we'll have a great representation of our faculty there. We're pretty convinced that they're not going to solve a lot of the metabolic disorders, cancer, and a number of other issues if they don't have our college fully represented as part of the work they're doing. And so I'm really proud that we have a president now who understands the importance of our Cornerstone College to a comprehensive university, and never fails to recognize how important our disciplines are to almost everything else that is focused on the grand challenges facing humanity. Now, just for a little fun, I'd also just mention to you all that I'd like you to save the date. August 2nd, 2022 will be the next Dean's Charity Steer Show, which will be held out at the Ohio State Fair. We did this a couple years ago and raised a significant amount of money for the Ronald McDonald House, and we're going to do it again. We have a lot of new partners coming to join us. And there's lots of rumors about who the celebrity exhibitors will be for this time, but it's always a really fun day to bring together youth and families and our communities. And so I hope you'll consider coming and joining us for that as well. I'm confident I'm going to see a number of you at Fall Fest that Yolanda mentioned that's coming up here on Saturday. And I hope I do get the opportunity to say hello and see you if you're there. I want to thank Amy Jo Bachman, just a terrific leader for us with alumni. We're so lucky to have her. As I said at the very beginning of today, we're pretty confident that what makes our community special is our people. And Amy Jo is a great example of that. And so thank you, Amy Jo, for all you do as well. And so I again want to thank all of our panelists, not only for joining us today, but for their time and commitment and leadership within the college with the councils that they represent. I also want to thank each of you. I know everybody's really busy, and we just appreciate that you take the time and you stay connected to those of us at the college and to the work that we do. We really do need everyone to be engaged, and we appreciate your support, your interest, and your enthusiasm for the work that we're doing. I hope everybody has a safe and happy homecoming week. And of course, lastly, go Bucks. We look forward to seeing y'all real soon. Take care, everybody, and thank you.